Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Level 30, a podcast made by Scots for whoever fancies a wee listen. I am Isla, also known as Zesty Todd.
I'm Jen, also known as Jammy.
I'm Scott, also known as Half Elf Rose.
I am Walt R. Kong, the resident VTuber, and I once punched a giraffe.
Moving swiftly on. Today we're going to be talking about landscapes and world within the video games that we enjoy playing and what really stands out for us. So I'm going to tell you right now that I cannot stand the world of The Last of Us because I hate everything horror and jump scares, and creepy mushrooms are not my thing. But what do we love?
Slime Rancher. I know what Vault and Jen are going to say. They're going to be like, oh, fucking shut up. But Zesty, do you want to tell us your initial impression of the world of Slime Rancher as someone who just started playing it?
I can't stand the landscape.
Really?
So I'm not an expert gamer, very much an amateur. And I went into this and it's like Farmville. You capture a slime, you put it in a cage, you feed it, and then it vomits up gems that you use as currency or trade in for currency.
Shits them out, okay. Big difference.
Regardless, vomits them up is better for me. Thank you very much. So I was doing this. I was farming gems. I was capturing different slime. They can get bigger, and I don't like the big ones because they confuse me. Hence the amateur gamer. And in order to progress throughout the world, you have to find slime keys. I played this for about 12 hours straight. 12 hours straight. And
Sorry.
really messing with my brain. And I didn't find a slime key, so I couldn't progress to the next world. And I sucked. I don't know how I was playing a very simple game badly, but I was playing it badly. So I got stuck in one level, and then I got it was a farming simulator for me as opposed to a world explorer. So that's why I disagree with the world building in Slime Rancher.
That's fair enough. So what I like about it is it's that classic video game thing of they have very clearly distinct areas, and it's on this like either a planet or a country called the Far Range in outer space in the middle of nowhere. There's very little world building about like, oh, this is where you are and this is how it relates to other people. It's like you farm slimes, you grow fruit and vegetable. And it's just really fun and cute, and I love it. And then Slime Rancher 2 kind of builds on that.
I just like the chickens. I like how you can keep chickens, you can catch chickens, and you don't need to feed them so they don't die on you. I like the chickens.
Yeah. How about you, Jen? What's one of your favorite video game landscapes?
For me, I'm trying to be careful not to just repeat all the games that I've spoke about in previous episodes.
Like I just did.
But I will. So for me, like during lockdown, is when I started to get into gaming. And the first game that I purchased when I got my PS4 was Grand Theft Auto because I'd played it kind of when I was a teenager. But I was an essential worker. Can I just home that in? I was an essential worker during lockdown. Thank you. Fucking clap, bitches.
If you're listening to this at 8 p.m., please clap for Jamie specifically.
So I was working throughout all of 2020 and it was hell. And it was fucking hell. And I was such a stickler for the rules that you know, they imposed like a 5-mile driving ban. You can't go within 5 miles of your hometown, etc. And I stuck with it. I lost a relationship over that. That's a story for a different day. Anyway, I then decided to come home to try and decompress by playing Grand Theft Auto and found myself not being able to drive in real life. And I drove around Los Santos instead and genuinely marveled at the scenery of, you know, you could drive at sunset, you could drive out to like a cliff and then swim over to an island and it's deserted and it's just the most beautiful graphics. It's just such a gorgeous game as well, like in such a huge world to explore or huge city to explore. It's such a gorgeous game to the point where it was really cathartic. It was really therapeutic for me to be able to drive around and see that scenery, get a change going. So much so that I painted a couple of landscapes based on like the GTA colours, so that like the really deep purple sunsets and things like that. And I, still have those paintings and things. So that was one that really, because I just started gaming, we were locked in, it really stuck with me of like this is a fantastic thing to do to take my mind off the horrors of outside and the horrors of work. I can go and watch beautiful scenery.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I think another big lockdown one, I know we're not talking about lockdown games, but Animal Crossing for everyone was so big. And I think again, landscaping with that, it's so simple. And that's why a lot of people love it, because it is just, particularly with this one, you could build your island however you wanted. Like you could tear down cliffs and then build them again, and all that kind of stuff. So I think literal landscaping in that one was a lot of fun for a lot of people and kept us going in the dark times. How about you, Walt? What's a video game landscape that you look back on and you're just like, yeah?
I was racking my brain in terms of things like visually, and one great one is I'm a big fan of the cell shaded graphics, and if anyone doesn't know what cell shaded is, it's best way to describe it. It was like it got its most famous thing with The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker, and the graphics are very cartoonish in nature. It looks like it's cell shaded. It looks very hand drawn. But the one I always go back to, and I really want to play it because they've announced a sequel to it, which was amazing, was Kami, which is you play the sun god Amaterasu, which you're basically a dog. You run around as a dog. You are the sun god. But it's all cel shaded. As you run, you've got like a trail of flowers behind you as you run along and everything. But as well, when you fight things and combat them, you can do special skills. But for you to do them, you need to like draw a certain symbol onto the screen to do it. Like if there was a fire, all right, you draw this little squiggly line that looks like wind to blow that. There's many a game like it is like as Jamie said, it's like Grand Theft Auto and everything. When you look out to this big massive landscape, and you're like, oh, that looks beautiful. Like to me, it's the beautiful things are like the style and how things are done. Like I said, with the cell shaded, it's so nice. That kind of style. I would recommend anyone to play Okami whenever they get a chance.
Okami's a gorgeous game. Cell shading, to bring it back to something that 3 out of 4 of us enjoy, is technically also Borderlands. Borderlands 1 and 2 specifically. Borderlands 3 I'm not entirely sure on, but
no.
But yeah, that's a more grungy version of it. I think that's an interesting point to bring up, though. You mentioned The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, but I remember specifically when Wind Waker came out, the sort of buzz online was like, oh, this is bullshit. I hate it. This is crap. This looks so bad. And now people look back on it really fondly and love it.
Yeah.
Whereas when Twilight Princess came out, everyone was like, oh, it's so dark and edgy and cool. And now nobody really talks about Twilight Princess anymore.
Well, for me, it was the like I remember what you were saying with Wind Waker going, everyone's like, what the heck is this cartoony thing? So then when Twilight Princess came out, being dark and edgy, I was the opposite. I heard a lot of people going, oh, what is this dark, grungy thing and everything? Yet Twilight Princess is my favorite out of all the Legend of Zelda games. I still have my original copy for the GameCube.
Oh, that's amazing. I got I don't know if it was a remaster, but I got the one that was on Wii. I think
they released it for the Wii and the GameCube at the same time. However, the rare copy is the GameCube copy.
Mm-hmm. I also had it for the Wii U, and it's up in my loft somewhere.
I think there was a beautiful game, and I'm trying to remember. It's not one that I've played, but again, it's one that I've watched a lot of, and I didn't think it was going to be my jam, and I really enjoyed it. It's like Ghost of
Tsushima?
Yes, yeah. That's it. And because what I really enjoy is, like, I know you're saying about like cell shading and it looks cartoony and stuff. That's not really what I find aesthetically pleasing. I really like things that look very real, like hyper realistic, with like mountains and scenery. That's where I feel at home. That's where I feel most relaxed. Like Dystopian games freak me the fuck out. I hate them. You know, like you start in a ruined building and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It just freaks me out. I don't feel calm or safe. So I really enjoy things where there's landscape and there's nature. And I remember that being an absolutely stunning game.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is a really beautiful game. I think as well, it is based off of a real island in Japan, but of course, I think they very romanticized it in terms of the leaves and everything and scenery and everything. Because I don't know why it made me think of it. There's one controversy that a lot of people hate in video games right now in terms of visualization, and it is Scott might know, and it's yellow paint. People hate yellow paint, so people get annoyed, right? So yellow paint is being used right now as a thing to show people, like, oh, if you're running up to a wall, where to go. So, oh, if something's in yellow, this is, and a lot of people, oh, we shouldn't be hand holding everything. It's like I get that side where they're meaning it, but at the same time, this day and age, we have been desensitized where we've not realized that we are getting handheld. So see, when you take away that yellow paint and everything, you are literally banging off of walls going, what the fuck? Like, I played Resident Evil 2 there, which it is, yes, it is a remake, and then I've been playing Final Fantasy X, and I've been struggling with the basic of tasks.
I've got a different example,
Yeah.
which applies to both. Horizon Zero Dawn is beautifully set.
Yeah.
Landscapes, and they've very deliberately placed a couple of quests where you have to go take a picture of viewpoints or whatever they're called, and it's a stunning world to run around in. And you are running around in prehistoric dinosaur with metal robots era, but stunning. But I would also have struggled without the yellow paint on handholds, because when you're up against a rocky outcrop, it all looks like texture. So you don't know where you can hold on to anything except if there's yellow paint there. So I am wholeheartedly for the yellow paint.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's like in early games like Sonic and Mario, you had rings and coins to kind of guide you where to go. And in those days, it was like, you are going to the right, keep going to the right, you will win. Whereas now it's like, hey, you've got an open world. You have to go 4,000 miles with no map. Fuck you. Bye. It's like, no. So I totally get that. I do really enjoy some of the hand-holding aspects, because I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but as someone who's a little bit older, I hate that.
A little bit sexier, a little bit wiser.
A little bit older, a little bit sexier, a little bit wiser. But as someone who has less time for games now, I don't want to spend 20 minutes going, where the fuck do I go?
Yeah. I mean, I can't really comment because I need a lot of hand holding, and I don't. When I'm overwhelmed with decisions of like, there's this door you can go through, and there's this door, and there's this door, and there's this door, and then there's also downstairs to explore, and you need to. I get really like overwhelmed with all the options, and all the places to explore, rather than focusing on, if it is just like I'm not talking about open world, I'm talking about just like a game where there's so many options and you don't know where to start first. I do appreciate a little bit of hand holding to be like, well, that's currently locked, so I can tick that one off, and I can go through here.
The rule of thumb for me is turn left and just work your way left. And then eventually you will hit all of your options.
See, my biggest gripe is that if I'm playing a game like Path of Exile, for example, if you're going through this dungeon style thing, I get why they do it and it makes sense, but I don't like having two diverging paths, because it's like, one of these is going to have a treasure chest at the end, and that's fine. I want to get that treasure chest. One of these is going to continue through the rest of this dungeon that you need to go through. I don't know which one's which. I don't want to miss the treasure chest, but I don't want to have to double back when I'm halfway up the other path.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of visuals, I'm surprised I remembered this, but there was a game that actually done it pretty well, where I think they were the first kind of persons who done the yellow paint, but done it well, and it was a first-person parkour game called Mirror's Edge.
Oh, yeah.
The graphic style was very simplistic. Buildings were all just pure white, and everything had a certain colour that meant something. It was like, oh, this is red. Oh, you can run across this, or this is yellow. You can slide under this, and it was done incredibly well in that sense. And it was such actually a fun game. It was like one of its first and only really like that used free running. Oh, I take that back. Dying Light starts to do that now. Now that I thought about that, and as I was talking,
Is the yellow paint? I mean, is that an homage to like the Wizard of Oz? Like follow the yellow brick road? Is that what that is, or is it just because it's?
I've never thought of that, but I think it's just because it's a bright color, and like most of the time it is because it's like the thing is like you usually have to climb is like crates or walls which are like brown and stuff. So just like I slap something yellow up there, you can see it kind of thing.
Right, got you.
And at least with a yellow paint, it's not neon yellow or anything. It's just yellow. It's like the brightest color you can get without being too obvious. If you know what I mean. It's not like it's like let me just shove chroma key green in there to like show somebody.
One of the things that I want to talk about, we were talking about navigating around landscapes and finding it quite difficult. One of the genres of games that isn't open world, that isn't particularly large 3D, you've got something called a Metroidvania. So it's named this after the games Metroid and Castlevania, and they're basically 2D side scrollers where you've got this huge wide map that you can explore. Usually you get a bunch of different movement abilities that let you access different parts of the games, like Hollow Knight, for example, is a good one. The landscape in that is fantastic, and I think a lot of that is to do with the art style.
Yeah, I love Hollow Knight, yeah.
The one I was going to bring up is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. So that came out in 2024, I believe. And it is that kind of Metroidvania style. It's not the 3D Prince of Persia that you're used to. But when you start the game, there is an option to have like a guide. Instead of trying to mentally map out this huge space and figure out where you have to go and use a little map, you can just get it to tell you where to go. And I think that's really nice. Everyone's like, oh, you're like casualing everything. And it's like, yeah, make it more accessible.
See,
I know,
that's the
it should be
type of
fun.
customization I can get on board with. I
Yeah.
don't care if my hair is blue. I do care if there's a map that could be switched on.
Yeah, sometimes you just want something. Not everything needs to be a challenge. Do you know what? Life is hard enough, right? Not everything needs to be a grind. You know, I'm fucking grinding on this game.
Yeah.
You know, oh, it's a slog. It's like, shut the fuck up sometimes. Like, no, I enjoy a challenge when it comes to a game. You know, like an Invincible, a really tough boss battle, something you can't. But sometimes, my God, do you not just want to come home and be like, here's something easy that I can switch my brain off, and it's beautiful to look at, and I don't need people yapping in my ear about, do you know what? Go to the challenging games then. Hop off my dick, you know?
I'm all for like I'm like unlike the three of you, I'm always wanting the challenge, but if the game gives the option to like I'm not saying like to help it make it like a bit more casual, go for it. But people get off their high horse and try to say it's like everything just I want to enjoy myself. You know, like that's my enjoyment. My enjoyment is the challenge.
Oh, I have the same thing. So games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, they are designed to be difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're rhythm games disguised as action games, but that's a whole different topic. I love those games, but sometimes you just need like a cheese build, like a build that will just destroy a boss because you're like, I can't get past this guy. I want to see the rest of the game. Fuck this. Some people will literally like butt their head up against a brick wall for hours. Whereas I will use like the summoning mechanics, and there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, but you didn't actually beat the boss then." I'm like, "Fuck off! I paid 60 quid for this game. I'll enjoy it however I want." You sweaty little prick.
I mean, I think that's it. You know, like people can enjoy games however they want to. You know, they can consume them in any sort of way that they want to. It's just, you know, if you're talking about hand holding and things like that, I think it is good to have that option to turn it off if you want a challenge. Like if that is what makes you so happy in the world, is like a good challenge to turn it off or to toggle it back on. If you're someone who doesn't enjoy it, who just wants to chill out, you know,
Is there a stigma though if you play a game on easy?
There used to be a stigma.
What do you call it? Okay, there's a. I don't even.
No, it's not a stigma, but no. Like,
Scott.
there used to be like that kind of thing as video games became more popular, and more casual people were playing it. Like, these hard games are like, no, I want to just enjoy it. So that's why video games started to like find this thing. It's like,
When was the last time you played a game on easy, Walt?
oh god, never. But no. Wait, why did you bring that up, like, attacking me? I was just talking. Like,
So I've raised a valid point, and you're shitting all over me. Right?
I'm not shit, like, because I was going to say, like, yeah, it's like it's fine for people to do that. I don't mind people who play it on, as it's now known. It used to be like whenever you played a video game, it was easy, medium, or hard. But now we also have easy, medium, hard, and then story, as it's called now, because it's just like, oh, do you want to enjoy the story?
So
Yeah, Baldur's Gate has that.
I struggle with this. I always feel I have to set the difficulty to medium rather than easy, even though I would enjoy the game more on easy.
No, that's fair.
Yep. It took me a long time to get over that.
I actually done it with my stream recently of Silent Hill 2. I was like, you know what, fuck it. It was like, when interesting with Silent Hill 2, the difficulty was you chose difficulty of combat and puzzles. So there wasn't an overall difficulty. So I was like, puzzle, give me hard. I want to have fun with puzzles. Combat, you know what, fuck it, let's go hard. I ended up bringing it down to medium just because half of the time I had 0 health and I constantly heard my heartbeat and I was getting driven insane by that. And then plus that's one of the endings, I think. Actually, it's like, if you spend so long under so much % of health, you get this X ending. So I was like, no, right, cool, I'll change it.
Again, I think it's just, you can't please everyone.
Oh no, you can never please
it. You got to play it how you want to play it, and there's
exactly. That's
but also, why have mods then?
Yeah.
Why have mods if you don't want to, make things a little bit easier? Or back in the 90s, in my comfort zone, I looked up on dial-up internet cheat codes for Lara Croft. Unlimited ammo.
Teletext.
I looked up cheat codes on how to find a fucking slime key. I'm not above it.
But sorry, I was going to say, walkthrough culture, I think, has come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was one time I used to go into my dad's office with him when I was younger, and I would just dick about on the computers and stuff. And I was having a really hard time with Final Fantasy. So I thought, right, I'll print off the walkthrough for this particular boss that I was struggling with.
Christ. I know where this is going. How many pages did you print off?
Yep. I printed the whole walkthrough, and it was over 400 A4 pages.
Wait,
my dad came through with this stack of paper. Was like, what are you doing?
Again, that's okay in terms of like with kids these days, like spending their mum and dad's card, like buying V-Bucks and stuff. Like I would be all right with my kid printing like this day, like printing off how many pages. Wait, what Final Fantasy was it again?
I would not.
Final Fantasy X. It was an office printer, so it was a big it was like a big Xerox. So this happened in the span of, like, on a home inkjet printer that would take you probably a full day. This happened in the span of like 10 minutes. The printer room was a different room, so I was on my dad's computer, and he came through with this big stack of paper, and I was like, "Is it double-sided?" And he went, "No."
That's at least double-sided, Father, please.
That's like fucking. That's like, yeah, that like it's a goddamn J.R.R. Tolkien novel by the sounds of it. That's there is actually an instruction manual for a video game that I have that is that big. It is A4 sized, and it is I don't know how many pages, but you could knock someone out with it if you swung it hard enough. Yeah. And it was very.
To be clear, for anyone listening, this was not like a nice with pictures thing. This was game facts. This was basic
just text.
White text, the white background, black text, nothing interesting at all. No pictures, no guides, no anything, no maps. It was just written verbal instructions on what to do.
The instruction manual for us, and I've still got the console. I think it's worth a bit now. It's for a game called Steel Battalion. If anyone's heard of it. Scott, maybe?
I have heard of that, but I don't know what it is. The name rings a bell. I'll say that.
It is its own game, and the only way you can play it is with a particular controller that only comes with the game. And it is like you're in a mech. It's got like hundreds of buttons and everything, and it's like joys. And the instruction manual comes from everything how to pilot to like actual like war type like calculations. It's like, hey, you want to fire this mortar shell? Here's the mathematical equation on how to do that. And it's like, I just want to
halfway
Honey.
through the thing, it just turns into Sun Tzu's Arts of War.
yeah.
Honey, if we ever get divorced, I'm going to ask for that controller.
It's
For
it's
nothing else.
it's in it is no,
wow.
it's in my mum and dad's house. So have you googled how much it is? Or
That is, I'm
No,
just
I
looking at the
just-
controller.
I
That's
just wanted to fuck
insane.
around.
yeah, oh yeah.
For
Oh,
those of you watching the video of the podcast, will pop
yeah.
up
Do you
on
want to
screen.
describe it, Scott? Yeah, you can describe what
Um,
you're looking at.
Yeah, so essentially, if you ever played racing games when you were younger, you got that kind of the pedals that you put on the floor and then the wheel. Imagine that, but instead of a wheel, you have the cockpit of a plane in front of you. It's 2 joysticks, a little like lever that you
That
can
yeah,
push up
that's
the
yeah,
different-
that's your gears. Like it's like a car. Like you get
Okay,
you
so
do your
it
gears.
is like a
Yeah.
car. Yeah, fantastic. And then you have what I can only assume are 20 different buttons of things you can do in your Mac.
Yeah.
It's insane. They are all labeled. It looks very, very official. And then there's this one that's like outlined in hazard tape, big red button behind a glass
Oh, that's your eject button. Yeah.
cover. I love that so much. That's such a fun gimmick.
Oh, here's the thing with that game. That like I would say that's like the original Dark Souls. Cause see if you play that, if you die in that game, it deletes your save, and you start from the beginning.
One life challenge, but for real.
Yeah.
I'm going to take
Man,
us
that's
back on track,
incredible.
if
No.
that's okay. So
No.
we've veered off ever
No.
so slightly. We were talking about the world building or the landscapes in video games that we really enjoy, and given that we're a podcast by Scots, we're going to emphasize the Scottish landscape. So we've already mentioned in previous episodes.
Scotland forever.
Uncharted 4 was based or inspired by the Highlands, sorry. A Bard's Tale 4, Barrows Deep, had Celtic and Scottish influences. Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse, had a chapter set in Scotland, and you can explore a Scottish castle in that one as well. And then the internet gets a bit confused because it starts talking about how Borderlands has a Irish accent, but the internet can't tell the difference between Irish and Scottish because it says they're both Celtic. And then no, they're different.
Misguided, but
It tried
get
and
it.
it failed.
At least you tried.
And then Assassin's Creed Valhalla had The Wrath of the Druids was set in areas resembling Scotland and inspired by Pictish history. And there's a whole load of other ones as well. But one of them was Enslaved Odyssey to the West, where you could explore the ruins of Edinburgh and the Scottish Highlands, which I thought was quite fun. Finally, last year, there's a game called Still Wakes the Deep that's set on a Scottish oil rig. That's sort of thriller horror, isn't it? Well,
Yes. I would have brought it up there. Yeah. In terms of landscape for it, it's you can't
it's an
really.
oil rig.
Yeah, you're in an oil rig, but I like that. In terms of that, it does give it. It gives that fear. Like if you look out a window, all you just see is the open ocean and just fog. But the game Still Wakes the Deep. The horror.
the har. It's called the har.
The reason why they done that was to instill fear because you are in that empty. You're in the middle of fucking nowhere. To give a brief synopsis of the game, you are as your character keeps saying, I just do the lecky. For anyone who isn't Scottish, it works the electricity. You do that. You're on an oil rig, and the oil rig digs down and literally just opens up like an eldritch horror. So it's like a bit of mixture between eldritch horror and The Thing, because people start getting mutated and all these things. Yeah, it's such a fun game. Like it was. I had so much notes written down. I was going to talk about it on the first fucking episode, but we never got around to it.
It did get brought up, as far as I remember. But yeah, I think everyone here was like, "Hey, let's ask Walt about that Scottish oil rig game."
They done so much research in terms. It was the developers were English based, but they done so much research in terms of Scotland. It was more funny as well. Like for example, your character went to the oil rig because he was wanted by the police. I was ready to say the police. I'm going Scottish
The
here.
police.
The police. So he just escaped to that because he got into a fight at a pub, and the pub is named. It's a real pub in like Glasgow and Denniston. I can't remember the name of it. It's so. I don't think I have the notes. I didn't have the note of it because it was just while I was streaming it. It was like, oh, oh yeah, you get the thing, and I was like, is this a real place? Googled it. Oh, it is. But oh god, I could talk for ages on that game.
One that we haven't mentioned, which segues very neatly into my little history fact of the day, which is Red Dead Redemption 2, which is, of course, a beautiful game. Like, there's no denying that. Like, it's
Gorgeous.
just absolutely stunning. Like, I've not heard a bad thing about Red Dead Redemption 2. Everybody loves it. Everybody's enjoyed it. Everybody gets something different out of it. Yeah, and I think it's beautiful. Have you guys played it? Have you not played it?
Played a bit of
I
it.
haven't
And
completed it.
I feel Red Dead Redemption 2 was like that was a slow burner. Like I did get into it and then I just get distracted by other things.
Red Dead Redemption 2, which is of course all about the Old West and cowboys and all that good stuff, and pretty, it's pretty legendary with, like, I would say America is to think of. You think of America, you think of the Old West, you think of cowboys, that sort of thing. But did you know that a lot of the cowboys in the Old West in the 18th century were Scottish? And what happened was, obviously, a lot of people colonized America, and they came from places like the UK, colonized America, but there was a lot of Scottish cattle herders, people up in the Highlands doing their thing, who then came over to America and discovered that this was a very useful skill to have. So there was a lot of cattle herders, and then actually a lot of sheep herders. Sheep herding wasn't really a thing in America whatsoever, until these Scottish people came over and were like, well, actually, this is how you wrangle sheep, and this is how useful sheep can be, and XYZ. So there's a very famous example of someone who was part Scottish, which I'm not really going to speak about today, but is considered a great American hero. But yeah, a lot of cowboys in the Old West came from Scotland, and it was their particular skills, being up in the Highlands and having to wrangle different livestock, then really built the foundations of sort of modern day cowboys as we now know it in America. So there you go.
Amazing.
That is the latest episode of Level 30. If you've got any suggestions or video games with fantastic world building or landscapes that we maybe haven't mentioned, feel free to let us know. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you, bye.
Bye.